Are they dragging in like their ventilator or something? How are they proving that?
I feel like it's an overall aura.
Yeah.
Where they're like,
can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Well, how many months until Tony Roman has COVID? If you had to guess.
Who's to say he hasn't already?
Yeah, that's
but yes, this for people who are like, Los Angeles is a place of progressives who figure it out. This is Huntington Beach.
Yep.
This is where Ryan went to live in the OC. This is like the OC. This is like,
okay.
What?
So
are you mad at me? So did I get it wrong? Sophie is Newport. That's
You're
Newport.
Getting your lore wrong.
Listen, as a North Angelino, Sophie,
Brett.
Listen, we are the fancy hat atop the like smug undercarriage that is the Orange County. Just like it's like a soupy rich undercarriage of like what's his name? Who's the guy that Comp in a Jar ran against? All right, go for it. All right, do it. Do your shit. Do your shit.
For my garbage person. Anyway, okay, let's do my thing.
Double standard.
My garbage person of the week is someone who is working overtime in like 4 different ways to earn the spot. It is going to be Kyrsten Sinema. And it's not because she's generating all of this, like bring up the screenshot. It's not that we're like finding out more and more about how she's like working with Mitch and he's like getting Republicans to boost her so she never has to do anything for the Democrats. It's not even really that a couple days ago she said, I have also made clear that while I will support beginning this process, I do not support a bill that costs $3.5 trillion on the reconciliation bill for infrastructure, although that's bad enough. It's that on top of all of that, she's also like super lazy and annoying about the whole thing. So according to the political playbook, when Chuck Schumer announced earlier this month that he might keep the Senate in session until August, delaying a previously scheduled recess in order to shepherd the 2 gigantic bills through the chamber, Sinema told the majority leader that she was not sticking around to vote. She had prior vacation plans, she said, and wasn't about to let the infrastructure or reconciliation bills get in the way. So it's not just that she does a bad job, it's that she refuses to even do the bad job. And as was pointed out on Twitter by Ida Chavez, she really does find a lot of reasons to not have to work. So previously she missed votes on judges so that she could go to New Zealand for an Ironman race. She talked about how important the January 6th commission vote was gonna be and then just didn't go to it. And we only found out recently that last summer, she took a couple weeks off from being a United States senator to do an internship for 2 weeks at the Three Sticks Winery in Sonoma. While there, she did everything the other interns did: grape sampling, sorting fruit, cleaning equipment, getting the wine cellar ready to receive newly picked grapes. And for it, she received pay of $1,170.40. Her winery work didn't surface publicly because of course she was hiding it until Business Insider reported about a federal financial disclosure that she put out, revealing the paid internship. Messages left this week to Sinema's office in Washington and Phoenix to learn about why she sought the summer work were not returned. But I think I know why. It's because she doesn't give a damn about any of this stuff and she'd rather go and do Ironmans and pick grapes and all that stuff. She's not even doing these things in Arizona. She's not even ditching to be in her state. She's ditching to go everywhere. And she can't even make time to, I don't know, like pass a bill. Like they did the COVID bill and there's 2 other things that they're talking about. She doesn't want to do either of those. Like she considers herself done. She worked harder in Sonoma than she is in DC. Brett?
It's a shame what she's done to the Southwest. It's one of my favorite regions. She's the worst. Sorry, that was like 2 office references at once. But yeah, she's the worst. She so smugly is terrible. Yeah. She isn't doing her job for which she's getting paid. Now, usually it's the people on the right who complain about government waste and people becoming fat cats on the taxpayer dollar, but they're not going to complain about that because she's theoretically on our side. Not to mention how much she masqueraded as a progressive to get elected, only to immediately turn her back on everything that the movement stands for. She is total garbage, John.
100%. And God, I hope that she has a vigorous primary against her, and I hope that she is taken out. Anyway, Brett, as always, thanks for the vast majority of all of that. Appreciate you being here. Oh yes, we do have to get to the community garbage person of the week. Thank you for telling me that. Okay, so 11,000 of you voted, and here is number 5. 3% of the vote goes to DaBaby for his horrific homophobic comment. Really, that only got 3% of the vote. Okay, number 4 with 6% of the vote is Piers Morgan for his hypocritical attacks on Simone Biles. No, that should have been number 1. Number 3 with 8% of the vote is Nancy Pelosi for her comments on canceling student debt. That's so bad though. Number 2 with 23% of the vote is Kevin McCarthy for trying to sabotage the January 6th commission. But far and away your winner and community garbage person of the week with 59% of the vote, Laura Ingraham for mocking officers testifying to Congress. I will never be able to predict what's gonna end up winning, even an overwhelming vote, but yeah, that was pretty garbagey. So, but anyway, with that, Brett, thank you for being here. Everyone should definitely check out Common Room later on and the billion other shows between now and then that we've told you about. But we are out of time in just a few minutes. We're gonna have Dr. Rashad Ritchie. For now, though, Brett, thank you. I will talk to you soon about the main show.
Mwah. Bye.
Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you everybody for watching throughout the week. Thank you for supporting the channel through gift subs so much. We will see what happens next week out of that. And we might, by the way, have a special surprise aside from what you're thinking. We're working on something. So anyway, that's coming up soon. But until then, stay safe out there. Stay sane out there. I got a purple hair.
We got a whole lot on the agenda. Yep, it's Friday. Let's get to it. Ladies and gentlemen, breaking down news of the day. We got the big homie Farron Cousins, host of Ring of Fire. That is going to be remarkable. We have a great debate guest as well. You don't want to miss that. We're going to break down guns, and more guns. Some people have a problem with being against printing guns. Printing guns. Literally hitting a print option and making a gun. I don't think that's a good idea. Some people do. We'll debate it. Ladies and gentlemen, my top story. A Texas woman, a white female, decided to murder a black homeless woman, according to the charges. This Texas woman claims that a black homeless woman came at her before shooting. Now she's facing murder charges, thanks to eyewitnesses that said, that's not what happened. So a Texas woman has been arrested and charged with murder in connection to a fatal shooting of a homeless woman outside of a grocery store last week. Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez shared a post to Twitter on Monday, July 26, revealing that 34-year-old Kyrsten Sinema, that's her name, Kyrsten Sinema, was in custody after admitting to shooting a 36-year-old black woman, DeAndrea Citizen, on Sunday, July 25th, in the parking lot of a Food Town grocery store. I want us to see a picture of the alleged killer and the woman she is accused of killing. Okay, we may have a technical issue. Trying to get that picture up, we'll get it up in just a moment. Initially, this is according to the narrative. Initially, the killer, the alleged killer, told authorities that she was walking her dog when she was attacked or aggressively approached by citizen. The woman, who was white, said that's when she opened fire, shooting the victim at least once. Do we have her picture? That's her. According to court documents obtained by the Houston Chronicle, following the slaying, this killer decided to go home to her apartment, which was located behind the business, after stashing away her firearm and changing her clothes. She phoned authorities to notify them of her involvement. Now, when she notified authorities, ladies and gentlemen, she said this woman attacked her, aggressively approached her. She basically had no choice but to shoot and to kill this homeless woman. Eyewitnesses told a different story, and they also highlighted that the woman, who's dead now, suffered from mental illness as well. Let me do it the right way, okay? This is not just about someone disregarding human life. This is also about the system, the criminal justice system disregarding that human life as well. I'm going to show you how. Put up a picture of DeAndrea, the young lady who was killed. DeAndrea is a human being. She did not deserve to die. She did not deserve to get murdered. She's a human being. There's more to this story. However, investigators say that according to a nearby surveillance video and multiple witnesses who identified Sinema as the shooter, the woman was actually walking her dog when she spotted Citizen sitting on a curb, talking to herself, and then shot her. One man claimed to witness the incident, said he tried to perform CPR on the victim, but emergency medical services pronounced her dead at the scene. Now, remember when I told you this is about the system as well, failing this black female? The killer, who has been arrested and charged with murder, received a freaking bond and made the bond. So Sinema however you pronounce this woman's name, was released on a
One.
Okay, welcome back. Sometimes this happens when you're spitting too much damn truth. So let me start where I left off. The black female who was homeless and also suffered a mental health condition, according to witnesses, who did not provoke anything, any violence toward this white female. She was killed. She was killed. The white female received a bond after she fled the scene, stashed away her weapon, changed her clothes, and called the police. And lied to the police about what happened. The reason why she was arrested for murder is because eyewitnesses and the surveillance video betrayed her. Put up the picture of this killer one more time. That's her. She was released, ladies and gentlemen, on a $75,000 bond. I want to remind you what that means. You go through a bonding company, that's about $7,000, $8,000. Okay? She's accused of killing a whole human being. Fled the scene. Got rid of the evidence. Lied to the police. Gets arrested for murder and released to that bond. When she was in front of the judge, her public defender argued that there should be no house arrest, no curfew. This was unsuccessfully opposed, by the prosecutors. The prosecutor said, you gotta have some restrictions here, Judge. This woman is still locked up for murder. She already has proven she doesn't want to face responsibility, willing to lie to the police. Not a condition of her bond. Not a condition of her bond. Put up the picture of the young woman she's accused of killing again, please. That's a real person, a human being. You mean to tell me that you can walk up to another human being at a grocery store, murder them, leave the scene, get rid of evidence, lie to the police, and still get out of jail the next day without any restrictions? I guarantee you this, ladies and gentlemen, if this would have been a black male who was at the grocery store and walked up to a white female, killed her in cold blood, went to his home, got rid of the evidence, lied to the police, and had surveillance footage that proved what he did, do you think he would have received a bond the next day? No restrictions, no curfew? Farron Cousins, thank you, brother. You cover a lot of these stories, man, on a regular basis. What are your thoughts about this?
Building on what you were just saying, I don't think if it was that situation that had it been a black man doing this to a white woman, I don't even know that he would have made it to the police station alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'd be looking at a much different situation there. But I mean, I have questions about this story too, and I think the prosecutors need to get to this when they start the actual prosecution of this case. Why'd the woman leave the home with a gun on her in the first place?
Yeah.
You don't walk out of your house armed unless you think there's a possibility you're gonna have to discharge that weapon. That is the purpose of a gun. You're walking your dog. Why the gun? And I'm not saying obviously that this is premeditated in any way or that she went out specifically to kill this woman, but I think those are questions that we need to put this woman on the stand and ask her these questions. Because all she's going to do in that instance is basically further indict herself. Oh, well, there's dangerous people in the neighborhood. Okay, well, explain to us what a dangerous person means. Tell us what you think about that. What exactly is your definition of what a dangerous person is? And again, as all the eyewitnesses say, as the surveillance camera says, the woman may have actually gone to her and was talking to herself. In no way was there any kind of threat. Did this woman pose any danger to the woman walking her dog? All she simply had to do was continue walking, walk away, maybe go around the individual and move on with your day. Everybody leaves alive, nobody goes to jail, but that's not what this woman chose to do. She said, you know what, I have my gun on me. I'm gonna go ahead and just do this instead. I'm gonna take somebody's life just because I don't feel like dealing with the situation. That's what happened. And it's sad and it's terrifying. And this is another story, not just of gun violence in the United States, of the lack of mental health care that we have for people. This woman should not have been sitting on a curb, homeless, talking to herself, having a mental health crisis. She should have been able to get the help that she needed, but we don't. And we leave them to die is what we do. We're leaving people to die on the streets because we don't want to take care of them. We don't want to pay the price for it. So she ends up paying the ultimate price for it.
So sad, unfortunate, avoidable. And once again, we highlight Karens on this show as well for this very specific reason. Individuals who believe that others around them are not valuable. Even if there was an argument, brother, arguments should not end in you pulling your gun out and killing somebody. What's very clear from the eyewitness testimony is that there's nothing here that warranted the death of another person. And it's just baffling, obviously, that she has received a bond. But we know white privilege get you a whole lot of places, especially in the courtroom that she's in, which is in Texas. Okay, let me shift gears. This was a really, really insane story. A white male has been arrested for ramming a stolen SUV into an interracial couple's home. But it gets even deeper than that. This is in Cold Spring, Minnesota. This person rammed a stolen SUV into this couple's home last weekend. The police say after exiting the vehicle with it directed towards the couple's home, the white male placed a granite slab on the gas pedal. Listen, he was trying to kill these folks, okay? Here's the video. Now, he was, in my opinion, trying to kill somebody, okay? It just didn't work out the way he wanted it to work out. But when you do something like that, you're trying to inflict serious injury, perhaps death. Now, let's go to the graphic of the teddy bear that was inside of the SUV. There was a teddy bear inside of the SUV, just in case people may think, well, maybe this guy didn't really mean for this to happen. Maybe it was a mistake. Do we have the way he tied up this teddy bear? Oh, you see that? That was the message he wanted to send. A teddy bear hanging in a noose. That's what he did. The couple, Andrea and Felipe Robinson, said this individual, his name is Benton Bear, has been stalking them. He has now been charged for the attack with felony counts of auto theft, stalking, and property damage. Should be attempted murder. Let's put up a picture of his mugshot. That's him. That's the hateful SOB. The targets of this attack, Andrea and Felipe Robinson, let's put them up. They are the victims. They are your victims. The husband told CBS Minnesota that this sick individual decided to ramp up this truck and ramp up his aggression. He went from busting out windows to shooting at cameras to knowing their schedules so well that he would follow this man's wife into the grocery store. Let me show the carnage again. Let's get a picture of that SUV in the house, okay? He wanted that SUV to go straight into that home and actually either injure or kill the residents of that home. Once again, he has not been charged with attempted murder. He has not been charged with those crimes. Let me take you to the next video.
So here we are sitting in front of our broken home that was driven into by Benton Byer. After getting off the phone with the Stearns County Prosecutor's Office, they have opted not to charge him with assault. He's be charged with stalking, criminal damage to property, and felony theft. Their assault charges aren't standing because they don't feel they have enough proof that he intended to harm someone, although he drove an excursion into the front of our house with our vehicle sitting outside. He's very well aware of our schedule because he stalks us every day for the past 83 days. I need everyone watching this video to contact the Stearns County Prosecutor's Office, to contact every media organization, because we will be willing to speak. But to allow someone to drive into our house and leave a vehicle with a noose hanging in it, if that's not a clear enough message, I don't know what is. There was one intent, and that was to kill someone in my house. And for the grace of God, we're all sitting here today.
You see that, you hear that. The prosecution is saying, we don't have enough evidence here to charge this individual with an assault crime. I will go even further than that. He should be charged with attempted murder. Now, Benton Byer, that's the individual who has victimized this couple, is no stranger to the Robinsons. Andrea has a restraining order against him, and police have fielded 18 calls in the past 2 months about Benton Byer stalking and harassing her. They say the frightening behavior started after they posted a video about racism in their children's school and put a Black Lives Matter sign in their yard. Andrea says the sign became a target. You see what's happening here, right? You see what's happening. He targeted this family, stalked this family, was allowed to continue the aggression. Law enforcement did not step in. They did not stop him. He became emboldened. He became more aggressive to where he attempted to kill them. And then they arrest him for something, but they don't arrest him for the biggie. They don't arrest him for what he actually planned to do, what he intended to accomplish. They don't arrest him for that. You know why? Because they support it. You see, they understand. They get his white fragility. There's more. The police say if there's evidence of a racially motivated crime, they will seek prosecution to the fullest extent of the law. But the Robinsons have little faith, saying officers quickly gave up chasing a bear after the crash. They said if they have clear evidence that is racially motivated, they'll do something. Put up the picture of the teddy bear and the noose. There you go. That's clear evidence. There you have it. Maybe, I get it. They're going to argue that somehow in the crash, the bear just started to hang like that from the ceiling of the truck. Total coincidence. Police say they ended the search because the field he was in was wet and difficult to navigate. Felipe says Bear was only caught later thanks to a neighbor turning him in. So even when the cops pursued this guy after he attempted to kill this couple, they said, hey fellas, it's a little too tough out here to look for somebody who tried to murder citizens in our community. We're gonna call it a night. And then another citizen, another neighbor, had more heart than all these damn cops. My brother, what are your thoughts here?
You have intent, you have planning, premeditation, you have the history. It is a miscarriage of justice to not move forward with attempted murder charge, premeditated attempted murder. I mean, you don't, the granite slab on the gas pedal is actually a very big piece of evidence there. It shows that he knew severe damage was going to be caused, severe enough to where he didn't want to be in that vehicle. That is the intent. And everything does hinge on intent. Was the intent to scare them? Was the intent to harm them? Was the intent to kill them? Him bailing out of the vehicle, setting it essentially on autopilot to go at them. That's the intent, that he wanted these people to be dead. The fact that they had to make countless complaints to the police, get the restraining order, still nothing happens. There's a history of this, and I'm shocked. I'm shocked that the prosecutors are not going with this, although I shouldn't be shocked. Let's be honest, I should not be. But I still am, because you still want to think that there's some kind of justice in this country. You still want to believe that the bad guys are going to get caught and the good guys are not going to get hurt. But that's not the country we live in. That's a fantasy. That's a Marvel movie. Yeah, I don't know that these people are ever going to get true justice. I don't know that this individual will end up going to jail for more than maybe 6 months, maybe a year, and he's going to be right back at it. The first thing he's probably going to do is find out where these people are now, because nothing got done. There's going to be no punishment, and it's a sick, sick world that we live in, where things like this can happen, and then the cops say, "Oh, well, we can't chase him because the field's wet." Oh my God, we got on our good shoes today. We don't want to go get dirty looking for a man who just tried to kill 2 people. But that's what they did.
That's exactly what they did, brother. And you make a great point about the premeditation involved. Obviously, the statutory definition of attempted murder fits hand in glove to something like this. You are well aware that your actions could in fact lead to the death of another person, and you intended your actions to cause severe harm or perhaps death to another individual. You have malice, you have proximity, you have motive, you have means, you have opportunity, you have an attempted murder charge. All right, we got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
I'm Nina Turner, and we are on the road to revolution, baby.
And I know sometimes people talk about the angry black woman, but I'm gonna tell you something. If you ain't mad as a mofo about what's going on here, something's wrong with you.
When people ask me all the time, what are the lessons from 2020, is that progressives have to get more organized and we got to come together. We have to be as agile as neoliberals. The progressive movement has to understand that it's not just enough for us to have the right ideas. We are right on most of the ideas. We're not perfect, but we're 99% right, because it is a humanitarian agenda, but we must get the power. We have to come together in a more unified way so that we utilize our power strategically to topple neoliberalism, and it's gonna happen.
Hi, I'm John, and I'm new to TikTok, but about 3 years ago, I started my daily political news show, The Damage Report, because I noticed this trend where every morning I was waking up to this tsunami of news that was just generally dreadful and horrifying and shocking, and I thought that if I could spend my time helping people to navigate this, serving as a bit of a life raft, pointing out which news is important and why, there are worse ways to spend your day. We're not an average news show, and we don't want our TikTok presence to be average either, so feel free to let us know what you'd like us to do on the platform, and maybe give us a follow at The Damage Report.
All right, Amazon Prime members, here's how you can subscribe for free on Twitch. Start by linking your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, and then click that little subscribe or resubscribe button below the stream on Twitch. Scroll down and select the subscribe free with Prime button, and then you're finished. Close out immediately and share your little subscription alert with the chat. Send a cute message along with it and bathe in the sweet, twitchy, Bezos-funded love. Hashtag Bezos Bucks.
Hey everyone, Matteo Scarapore here, author of Black Buck, which is Shop TYT's first fiction book ever. I'm honored. So, Black Buck is about a young man named Darren who's living in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. He lives with his mom, he has his girlfriend, he has his best friend, he has his neighborhood, and his neighborhood has him. Darren's also working at a Starbucks in Midtown Manhattan. And one day, this man, who's real suave and good looking, comes in and asks Darren to give him his regular. But for some reason, Darren says no. This man named Rhett Daniels, who's the CEO of a startup called Someone, located on the 36th floor of the same building, is impressed. And he invites Darren upstairs, and then he extends an offer to join his elite sales team. Darren reluctantly joins, and he soon realizes that he's not the only black salesperson there. He's the only black person in the entire company. So he goes through hell and back in order to make it to the top. And once there, he has status, money, power, but he says, you know what? I don't like being the token black guy. So he hatches a plan to help other people of color infiltrate America's tech startup sales teams, redefining what it means to be a minority in the workplace. This book definitely, if you couldn't tell, touches on many things that are relevant to this moment that we're all living in right now. But it's also connected to the many moments in history that have come before today. I hope that you read it. I hope that you enjoy it. And if you want to order a copy, go to shoptyt.com. Thank you, be well, and happy 2021.
Back to Indisputable. We got a lot of viewer comments. Let me get to it. Don't forget Galaxy Brain with Ben Carollo. That takes place right after Indisputable. Make sure you stick around for that. You can always follow us on Indisputable TYT, social media. That includes Instagram, Twitter, all right? Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, Indisputable TYT. It's free, easy, and quick. All right, TYT member, Indisputably Electric says, Dr. Rich is too strong for the stream. You want the truth? YouTube can't handle the truth. Yeah, it happens sometimes, but we come back every time. Mickey C, the silver-haired dragon says, I hope he's charged with a hate crime. That hanging teddy bear is the most disgusting part of this story. Yeah, and the cops are sitting around like Tweedledee and Tweedledum saying, well, we just don't have any evidence here for a hate crime. I mean, a teddy bear? YouTube super chat, Songs of Sovereignty. Mahalo for your work, Dr. Richie. Thank you. AC, perfect programming. Thank you. Thank you back. Macho Manda, thank you for that. Michael Norrish, minor correction. You keep saying two people, but the wife references their kid's school. I assume there's also kids in the house. This guy's sick. Yeah, and see, that was his intent. So even if the kid wasn't in the house, what's important is the intent, and you're right. R. King Juan Garcia, we unfortunately don't have enough mental health professionals and not enough in school. Yeah, Rose Column, thank you for that. Wayne Shigahara, I think I said that correct. I'm so happy to see this team up. I'm so inspired by the commentary and thoughtful discussion. Thank you. Gumpy Cat, hopefully they took away her gun. Sheriff didn't say anything about that. Didn't hear it in the judicial order either. Deborah Burns says, if that was a black woman did that to a white woman, there would be no bail or bond. Nope, not at all. Twitch, Mary Animal says, rest in power, DeAndrea. Yes, thank you. Platinum Yeti, I've never taken my gun with me on my walks, my dog walks, WTF. Cutman says, this happened in Cold Spring, Minnesota, and as someone who lived in the area for nearly a decade, I am completely unsurprised by this. Ladies and gentlemen, my next story, black teenager and her mother detained, arrested by the police. Let me just take you to the video.
Okay, come on. This is my daughter. She's on 18.
Why you don't have to ever hear her? She will stay down, okay?
You need to back up. You need to back up. Do not touch me. Back up. Back up.
Just calm down. Calm down. Hold on.
You can talk to her.
Okay, but you can get up. You don't have to do it like this.
She's trying to jump in front of me.
No, she's not. Please, calm down. Kaya, calm down. She's what? Y'all is on her. It's 102 degrees out here. I can't breathe. She cannot breathe. She's spitting up.
Okay, well, let us get her restrained and safe. Back up. Everybody will stop.
She's foaming from her mouth. She is literally foaming from her mouth.
Just hold on a second.
She has not done anything. And then you are on her all up. I need your badge number and your name. Record his. Please do.
This young teenage African-American female did nothing illegal. I want you to know this. She was not arrested. She was not arrested, meaning she was not charged with anything, but you see clearly she was detained, she was handcuffed, and she was treated like a criminal. Now, according to the narrative from the sheriff's office, they're saying they did all of this for her own safety. Remember, 102 degrees outside. The young lady is saying, I cannot breathe. You have this grown ass man on top of your body, holding you down, suffocating you, and you're hyperventilating, you're anxious, you're terrified. This is all happening. Lightning speed to this young teenage person. Now, according to the sheriff's office, they did this because somebody said she was trying to hurt herself in traffic. The family completely disputes that narrative. So let me give you some background. Antonique Ray was arrested Tuesday after Kaufman County Sheriff's deputy restrained her daughter, 18-year-old Nakia Trigg, as the teenager walked through a Forney neighborhood. There's more. Here's the arrest of her mother, who was trying to calm her daughter down. Here's the arrest.
I'm not talking to you. Let go. Let go. You got that. Jay, stop. Jay, stop. Jay, stop. Stop. No, sir, please. Sir, please. Okay, stop. Okay, sir, please. Please. Put your hands up. Please. This is crazy, boy. It's gonna get handled for sure. Mama, stay calm. Stay calm. Stay calm. When all y'all hear this camera was stay calm. Stay calm, Kaya. All I did was ask him, my daughter couldn't breathe. She was foaming at the mat. It's all right. I got it all on video. But she wasn't doing nothing but walking. How you gonna with somebody and they walking? We pull up, he on top of her with his camera underneath her. That's what I'm saying. We pull up, and he's sister. Hey, stop. He's laying on top of her. She's foaming out of her mouth. His body camera is laying underneath her. You can't do that. She get up and she tell you the handcuffs too tight, and then you're gonna throw her on the ground. What sense does that make?
You cannot blame the mother. You cannot blame the family for seeing a situation where it looks as if their loved one is about to die, about to be the next victim of the police. The mother was trying to calm her daughter down. Now, the police ended up arresting the mother for attempting to address the fact that her daughter is saying the handcuffs are tight. Why am I being arrested? Remember, the daughter committed no crime, but they found a way to still harass this family. You mean to tell me all of your training, you mean to tell me that you cannot handle a situation like this better? And I know some people are going to argue that this was within the rights of the cops. Listen, a wise man once told me, don't think that just because it's legal or allowable, it's ethical or right. We need to start changing what we look at as right in this country. Nikki Razorhands released something. I'm gonna read this. It's kind of lengthy. We got that up. This was all for nothing. Hello, my sister and mother was just affected by police brutality in Forney. Nakia was simply walking home and somebody called the police and said she was trying to jump in front of cars. The first officer, Martin, showed up and grabbed her arm and twisted it 2 different ways without addressing her, put her on the ground, choked her, and sat on top of her while she can't breathe to where she was foaming at the mouth. You all saw that. My mother appeared trying to calm her down and hold her hand, and the officer punched her and I think drugged her is what it means, and sat on top of her. Also, the same police officer, Martin, put his arm in her throat. We have video. Also, his camera wasn't on. This was all for nothing. My sister was walking home and my mother was only trying to help. And now they have her in jail for assault on a police. We need help. We do not want this to go unseen. My sister almost died for no reason. Please share, tag, smash tag anybody. We need this viral. We need help. Hashtag get off her. Well, Nikki, we're here. We're here, all right? And we're going to expose it. And a lot of people are going to know about it. Eventually, the body camera footage recovered from the scene where Triggs is shown just walking and crying on the sidewalk. And in fact, a policeman grabs her arm and she says, "Why are you hurting me?" So what the sister said is 100% accurate, proven by footage that was released later. This never should have happened at all. Farron, what are your thoughts here?
One of the things that stuck out the most to me is watching the video and seeing the mother and the other family members having to just tell her, stay calm, stay calm, stay calm. That spoke volumes to me. That reaches beyond just the ridiculousness of this officer jumping on top of her. That's the family understanding. Here you have a renegade white cop. You have no idea what this young little idiot is gonna do. Don't do anything that's gonna get you shot. That's what they were terrified of. That's what they were terrified of. And so they have to be calm, be calm, be calm, be calm. Let me touch your hand. It's sick. It is sick that this is where we are. And it wouldn't shock me if that family previously had to have discussions about that, or if families are having discussions about that all the time right now. Like, just try to be calm in that situation. You don't know what they're gonna do. And then of course, later on in the video, we get Rambo showing up there with his taser drawn, ready to shoot anybody who weren't even near where the officers were taking the young woman and the mother was following. I mean, God, as usual, you get at a loss for words because obviously I don't want to, say all the horrible things I'm thinking and get your channel flagged here for language. But my God, there's only so much of this you can see before your blood starts boiling, and you understand the pain that these individuals are feeling. The fact that this young woman had done nothing wrong. Nothing that she was even accused of is a crime here. You're walking. Your body cam footage showed it. You took the body cam off at some point, obviously, for it to be underneath the person you're restraining. If it had fallen off in a struggle, you would think the body cam would either be to the side or in between your bodies. So there's a lot of questions that need to be answered here. But it's things like this aren't going to stop. The whole system has to change. The whole system has to be torn down and built into something that actually works for this country, where racism isn't a massive part of it, because that's what played the big role here. And the family knew it, and thank God, they were able to be there for each other and not, have anybody freaking out too much. There's only so much you can do, obviously, when your sister or your daughter is sitting there foaming at the mouth because a cop has his arm on her throat. But God, the situation could have been worse.
Yeah,
and thank God it wasn't. I mean, is the best we can say about that.
Yeah, and it is so ironic that police, who are taxpayer funded, are supposed to respond to problems and solve them, remedy them, provide solution when necessary. But you see situations like this where they are the root of the problem. They caused the problem. They were the catalyst of the problem. They are the problem. Okay, shifting gears. Ladies and gentlemen, I do not condone violence, but this is a public service announcement to all would-be Karens in the world. I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free. Back off. I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
I own my property, okay? I own my property. I'm going to stand right here. Because you don't own this.
Bitch, get the f*** off
own
my property.
this. You don't own this. You don't own this.
You better get this bitch out of here. You better get this bitch out of here.
You walked on mine.
You want to use me
At the end of the day, when you want to put on people's door, make sure you put the address and shit. Don't try to put on people's door. I lived there for 2 years. Ain't changed with the HOA. That's right. And y'all ain't changed. You been here for 22 years, and your old ass sitting over here looking at this the same way, and you ain't doing nothing. Y'all thieving ass bitches. All y'all doing is stealing money. That's what y'all doing. That's why you mad. Y'all thieving ass bitches. Y'all thieving ass bitches.
Get off fucking property, bitch. You better back up. You better back the up. You stupid. Oh, you heard it.
I'm a bitch. I'm a bitch. You want to call somebody a I'm a yo, you crazy? Look, now you're not on your property. Now you're not on your property. Now you in the fucking street. You wanna call me? You wanna call me a You gonna call me a Now you in the street. Now we ain't on no property. Call me a again.
Let me rein this in. I do not, once again, condone violence. Now, if you are in an argument, whatever that argument may be, and you decide to walk up in a black person's face and start calling them the N-word to their face, that basically becomes combat, as we have seen here. Now, I know that the young black woman who's in this story, she could have taken another route as well, but that's not my focus here. I'll just be 100 with you. My focus is the fact that when arguments happen, which it's part of humanity, why is it that these particular individuals, not all white females, but white females of a certain type, the Karens of the world, why do they feel the necessity to go racist? Why? It's an argument. People argue. You can walk away from an argument, or you can continue to. You can call people names, but racist default seems to happen quite often here. Farron, you see a lot of nuance to this as well, but damn, when you walk up in a black person's face and you are bold enough to just start calling them the N-word, stuff can happen.
It's to answer your question, there's why they go to this. It's because they're trying to inflict maximum harm at that point. They know how charged up that word is, and they know they can use that to really just set somebody off. And that's why they do it. That is their weapon. That is their go-to choice to try to, oh, look, I'm better than you, and I'm going to call you this. That's why she did it. She wanted that kind of reaction. I truly believe that watching this video. She wanted absolutely for that woman to come at her.
Brother, I got to push back. I don't think she wanted that level of ass kicking.
Well, probably not that much, no.
No, not that much. I mean, maybe she thought something would spark the person and she would really be in violation of trespass, so she can, call the police and say this person did A, B, and C. But I don't think anyone, especially that Karen, was expecting that level of dragging at all.
Oh no, definitely not. But now because she used that word, she's gonna get what she wanted out of this. This woman, unfortunately is probably gonna be charged with something for this. Likelihood of, possibly based on this, getting kicked out of where she lives there. Obviously, the dispute was over some kind of homeowners association type thing, based on what we can see there. So she, even though she got her butt handed to her there, she's gonna count this as a victory. She's gonna count that as her actually winning ultimately, because she was able to elicit that kind of response by going that low against this woman. And it's unfair. It's unfair, but I do think to a degree, again, probably didn't expect that, But ultimately, she got what she wanted from this, I think.
Yeah, it is what it is. All right, we got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
You're about to watch some behind the scenes footage of the Young Turks.
Ooh.
Now, these are partial videos. If you want to get all of them, you become a member, go to tyt.com/join, and you'll get all the behind the scenes of me, Anna, John, JR, a little bit reality show like tyt.com/join, and enjoy this.
You know what you're seeing behind me? Jersey, hold. Watch me flip this camera. However I flip it. Do I flip it like this? No, I just took a picture. I'm bitzing right now.
What?
Behind the scenes.
Oh, okay. For members? I don't have my face on.
She doesn't have her face on, folks. Oh, that's JR's ass right there.
You can't take 5 minutes off, can you?
No, I can't, Johnny Pie. I said it was live stream, but I was lying. It's not a live stream. It's just for members. Bitsy, this is my cat. You know what his name is? Kiki Cat.
Animals are innocent.
Control room and the insanity is obviously there.
Right now, as you can see, I'm directing or tech directing.
I'm so happy to be here.
This is what like a Labor Day beard looks like for Jank. Man, you're a Young Turks viewer if you recognize me like this.
Oh, thank you. You are the one person in my life I would love to meet.
What's going on, guys? This is a Bitsy or a BTS or behind the scenes with Hassan Piker, aka Woke Bay.
Oh, hi, I didn't see you there.
I have finished my show, The Damage Report, and now I get into a really awkward time of the day.
When I'm sitting, the control room is right there. So I can see Bart.
And this is the Pittsburgh office, by the way. Referred to often as the boiler room.
You see how it's ripped? Is it super unprofessional to wear that at a business meeting? Or am I like cool, rebel?
I just finished doing the power panel and I'm fired up.
What do you do for TYT?
Not a whole lot.
If you're frantically tweeting at us that something's broken, thank you, because I'm fixing it.
And thank you for being a TYT member.
Super last thing, because there's always got to be a super last thing. Oh, that was disastrous. This has been behind the scenes, behind the scenes.
All right, welcome to Dr. Rashad Richard Indisputable. This is going to be quite interesting. I don't know if you can handle this much truth on any day of the week. The unrest inside of the black community and communities that support them. It's because these cops are not held accountable. You have a family calling 911, and that family is expecting help, not expecting their loved one to be killed by the very people they pay to protect and serve them. Did you ever notice a cop that you work with call any black person the N-word or target people because they were black? Nope. But we disagree that somehow police officers are not also subject to the same systemic biases and racism as any other level of law enforcement.
It sounds like for everybody's need who wants to crucify the cops without looking at it.
No, we crucify bad cops, brother.
Of
bad
course.
cops.
We don't need the government to step into our lives mandating that we should be wearing a mask.
You think you putting on a mask, Trey, is government intrusion, but you don't think the government telling a woman what she can or cannot do with her body isn't government intrusion.
Where does life begin?
You want to go there? I can read it to you, bro.
You seem very well prepared. Certainly more.
Of course, why would I not be well prepared? They don't stop, I don't stop. Racism won't stop, I won't stop. Systemic bias won't stop, I won't stop. People still need health care, so I won't stop. People still need criminal justice systems reform throughout this country, so I won't stop, and you won't stop either.
Climate is changing fundamentally, extremely, and non-linearly. It's becoming worse now. It's not when the levees burst that is the problem. It's in the anticipation of that.
So I hope every human being is safe. And by human beings, I do not include multinational corporations, especially the ones that started climate change in the first place.
What we're currently doing right now in cutting emissions is clearly not enough. There will be ramifications to what Trump is doing. I don't want people to suffer, but I feel like there's going to be a lot of suffering because we have an imbecile as our leader.
And thank you all for chiming in. TYT member, next TYT reporter says, love you, Farron, the big homie. Rob says, just because you got the power, that don't mean you got the right. Motorhead, that's right. YouTube super chat, Nicole Smith. Teenager crumbles paper and gives angry look at cop charged with hate crime. White supremacist rams truck into couple's home with history, nothing. I have no words. Forgot the Guillotine says, you present content everybody needs to know, and you do it with the perfect combination of righteous passion and professional restraint. Thank you for it. Well, thank you for saying that. 3 Audacia. I wish a Karen Wood clip seemed to have gone viral. I know what I'm watching tonight. Get some popcorn, root beer float or something. Enjoy yourself. Sarah K says, so happy to see Farron on Indisputable. Love y'all. And Sarah, we love you back. Thank you for that. Nikki Nova 08 says, Farron Cousins dropping truth with Dr. Richie. My Friday is complete. That's the way I feel when Farron's on the show too, by the way. Yeah. Luminara 843, that Karen video is not funny, but I couldn't help but think, no, Miss Sophia, no. James Thomas, we need to find out who's making these calls. Yeah, I mean, who called the police on the teenage kid in the first place? Okay, Twitch, sarcastic snowflake. I got it. I probably would have got charged for assault on an officer. Do my kids like that and see what happens. Lazy Omega says, so she crossed the street while black. Yeah. Double dose.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday?
I feel free. Back off. I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life. Taxes, I pay for this park, and I don't like to see people wrecking it.
We're not wrecking it. There's literally so many berries everywhere.
Oh my God, we're not wrecking it. Oh, there's so many berries out here. There's so many berries.
I cannot.
Complete twits.
We're twits. You're the one coming up to 2 young girls, getting
Young
mad
girls,
at them for
yeah,
picking.
you're like 6 years old.
6 years old?
Because we wanted to eat some berries.
I'm saying, eat all the berries you want. Just don't take the bush with you.
It's not the bush. It's literally it's a tiny branch of berries.
Why don't you mind your own business? Why don't you mind your own business?
You know, that is the rudest thing you've said to me.
You decided
go
to come
back
up
where
to
you
us.
came from if you wanted to use language like that.
Oh, why don't you go back to where you came from, you colonizer?
Are you First Nations?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then don't call me a colonizer.
You're a colonizer.
Where did you come from?
Yeah, where did you come from?
Where did you come from? I'm actually curious.
The US.
US?
Oh,
yeah.
So you're not
so
even
you're
from
not
here.
Canadian either.
Yeah, I am.
Oh, but we are Canadian too. I was born here.
I was born here too.
Okay.
Were you born here?
No.
Okay, so this is actually like I was born here and you're not even born here, and you're telling me to go back to where your grandparents weren't either. That's the thing. Were your grandparents born here? No.
Look, she's smiling. She wants to
I
get a reaction out of
know.
us.
This is so hilarious.
I am getting a reaction out of you too, aren't I?
Oh my.
This is a bigger problem than I thought. Karenicity has gone international. It's in Canada. The pandemic is real. Ladies and gentlemen, these were 2 young ladies of color picking berries. They're in the wild. Berries grow in places. They were picking them. This Karen, who really didn't care about the berry tree, just really needed to put these 2 in their place, evidenced by the fact that when the back and forth continued, she said, go back to where you came from, exposing her true agenda from the beginning. Farron?
You know, 2 things here. First and foremost, I think that's the first hippie Karen I've ever seen. So, you know, we've got that going there. But 2, I love how those 2 young girls outsmarted her.
Yeah.
How they just totally flipped the script on her. You know, you're the one who technically isn't even from here. You're not even from this country, I guess. But no, they were. And so it is about privilege. You know, she says, well, my tax dollars pay for this, before she had her little freak out thing. You know, I just want the park to be okay. I don't want, you can eat the berries, but don't destroy the bush. It's entitlement. It's white privilege at its finest. You know, oh, these aren't people I usually see on the trail. Usually it's people that look like me. That's what she's saying. That's what she was saying without actually having to say it. And it's disgusting, and it is very sad, obviously, that this is, as you say, going international at this point. That everybody is now, you got to be on the lookout for these people because it can strike anywhere. It doesn't matter where you are. If you're in the woods, if you're at the grocery store, you're gonna run into a Karen eventually, unfortunately.
Yeah, I can't wait until somebody, and maybe somebody watching can go ahead and do this for me. When this Karen was, flipping out, please make that a meme. Do that quickly. We need that in our lives this weekend if you can. Farron, always a pleasure, brother. Tell people how they can check you out.
You can get me on YouTube, youtube.com/TheRingOfFire, or my other channel, youtube.com/FarronBalanced. Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram @FarronBalanced. And it's always a pleasure being here with you. Thank you so much for having me today.
The feeling is completely mutual, brother. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We got more. Bullpen is next. Stick and stay.
You're about to watch some behind the scenes footage of the Young Turks. Ooh. Now, these are partial videos. If you want to get all of them, you become a member. Go to tyt.com/join, and you'll get all the behind the scenes of me, Anna, John, JR, a little bit reality show like. tyt.com/join, and enjoy this.
You know what you're seeing behind me? Jersey. Hold. Watch me flip this camera. However I flip it. Do I flip it like this? No, I just took a picture. I'm bitsing right now.
What?
Behind the scenes.
Oh, okay. For members? I don't have my face on.
She doesn't have her face on, folks. Oh, that's JR's ass right there.
You can't take 5 minutes off, can you?
No, I can't, Johnny Pie. I said it was live stream, but I was lying. It's not a live stream. It's just for members. Bitsy, this is my cat. You know what his name is? Kiki Cat.
Animals are innocent.
Control room and the insanity is obviously there.
Right now, as you can see, I'm directing or tech directing.
I'm so happy to be here.
This is what like a Labor Day beard looks like for Jank. Man, you're a Young Turks viewer if you recognize me like this.
Thank you. You are the one person in my life I would love to meet.
What's going on, guys? This is a Bitsy or a BTS or behind the scenes with Hassan Piker, AKA Woke Bay.
Oh, hi, I didn't see you there.
I have finished my show, The Damage Report, and now I get into a really awkward time of the day.
When I'm sitting, the control room is right there. So I can see Bart.
This is the Pittsburgh office, by the way. I'll refer to often as the boiler room.
You see how it's ripped? Is it super unprofessional to wear that at a business meeting? Or am I like cool, rebel?
I just finished doing the power panel and I'm fired up.
What do you do for TYT?
Not a whole lot.
If you're frantically tweeting at us that something's broken, thank you, because I'm fixing it.
And thank you for being a TYT member.
Super last thing, because there's always got to be a super last thing. Oh, that was disastrous. This has been behind the scenes, behind the scenes.
All right, welcome to Dr. Rashad Richard Indisputable. This is going to be quite interesting. I don't know if you can handle this much truth on any day of the week. The unrest inside of the black community and communities that support them. It's because these cops are not held accountable. You have a family calling 911, and that family is expecting help, not expecting their loved one to be killed by the very people they pay to protect and serve them. Did you ever notice a cop that you work with called any black person the N-word or target people because they were black? Nope. But we disagree that somehow police officers are not also subject to the same systemic biases and racism as any other level of law enforcement.
It sounds like for everybody's need who wants to crucify the cops without looking at it.
No, crucify bad cops, brother.
Of
bad
course.
cops.
We don't need the government to step into our lives mandating that we should be wearing a mask.
You putting on a mask, Trey, is government intrusion. But you don't think the government telling a woman what she can or cannot do with her body isn't government intrusion.
Where does life begin?
You want to go there? I can read it to you, brother.
You seem very well prepared. Certainly more.
Of course, why would I not be well prepared? They don't stop, I don't stop. Racism won't stop, I won't stop. Systemic bias won't stop, I won't stop. People still need health care, so I won't stop. People still need criminal justice systems reform throughout this country, so I won't stop, and you won't stop either.
Climate is changing fundamentally, extremely, and non-linearly. It's becoming worse now. It's not when the levees burst that is the problem. It's in the anticipation of that.
So I hope every human being is safe. And by human beings, I do not include multinational corporations, especially the ones that started climate change in the first place.
What we're currently doing right now in cutting emissions is clearly not enough. There will be ramifications to what Trump is doing. I don't want people to suffer, but I feel like there's going to be a lot of suffering because we have an imbecile as our leader.
All right, welcome back. We got a lot of viewer comments. Let me get to it. Thank you all for always being so interactive with Indisputable. All right, let's see what we have. Okay. TYT member, LMG15. My favorite part was when Barry Karen thought that flailing her arms around was owning them. Yeah, I know she thought she did something when she did that. That whole move, Karenicity logic, by the way, that's where that makes sense. Subliminal sapper. Give me some Indisputable merch, damn it. Best show on TYT. Guess what though? It's coming. C. Baker, Canadian here. I'm so embarrassed. If I was Canadian, sir, I would be too. About the Karen, not just if you're just a Canadian. Okay, all right. Ham Salad Dragon 13. Good to see you, Farron. Thank you. Farron has left, but he's probably still watching. So yes, he feels the love. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the bullpen. I don't know what happened, but this is going to be an awesome bullpen, obviously. In the bullpen today, we have Matt Laurentier.
That's me.
And this is going to be so fun, man. I mean, your background already tells the story. So you're host of the FUD Busters, and you are a big guns guy. So we're going to talk about the right to bear arms, and also more specifically about what are called ghost guns and also printed 3D guns, which is insane to me that anyone would advocate for that.
So I got a bunch of them right here, so it looks like you're in for a treat.
I see that. I don't want to presume what you believe about gun rights in America because there's significant nuance to that conversation. But what are your general thoughts about the right to bear arms in the United States?
Well, I don't think there's any significant difference about the right to bear arms in the US versus anywhere else in the world. I think it's a core human right that flows from the right to self-defense, which of course I define as the right to be secure from unlawful and illegal force against your body. I think it flows logically that we have the right to use whatever tools are necessary as to secure our bodies against unlawful force. And I think the purest way of acquiring those tools is to make them yourselves. And so that kind of flows perfectly well into the conversation we're about to have, I think.
All right, so let me go ahead and challenge you on a couple of things. You graduated cum laude from the University of Alabama. You have a JD degree and a Master's of Laws and Taxation. So you're a studied guy, okay? which I can definitely appreciate. When you say a right to self-defense, that basically the right to bear arms is an extension of your right of self-defense. Let me challenge that somewhat. The Constitution naturally grants us particular rights as human beings in America. Some of those rights you have based on birth. Some of those rights you have or you grow into based on statute. For example, every person has the right of due process, no matter what. You're born into that right. You don't have to wait to turn a certain age to exercise that particular right. But in order to exercise the right to bear arms, every state statutorily, they make a determination of what age that should be, which means if you're saying that the right to bear arms flows from the right of self-defense, you have the right of self-defense at the age of 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever, you have the right of self-defense. But if you're saying that the right to bear arms and the right of self-defense are basically one and the same, or they flow from the same river, you would then have to make the intellectual argument that the right to bear arms should also be extended to anyone who has the right of self-defense, which would in fact include a 5-year-old child.
Okay, well, so there's a lot to unpack there. And first of all, and I'll do it nice and quick, but I think that you're conflating the legal treatment of our rights in this particular country with the actual fundamental human rights. And the fact is that I do think that the right to arms flows from that natural right to self-defense. Does that mean that it hasn't been infringed for, in the majority of the world for the majority of time? No, absolutely. And there's a lot of Supreme Court doctrine that says that your rights don't fully form until you reach a certain age of maturity. And of course, that age is always arbitrary. It's an arbitrary line. Do I think that it's drawn correctly? Maybe, maybe not, I don't know. But I divorce the right to arms from the Constitution. Now, the Constitution recognizes, doesn't enshrine, but recognizes our pre-existing right to arms. And so I just think those are important, bits of nuance to make. I think that we have a natural core human right, and that every person everywhere in the world has that right. And I think that pretty much everywhere in the world that those rights are very heavily infringed in an unjust manner.
So let's talk about something else you said. You said basically a person should be able to utilize any tool necessary to defend themselves, right? So does that mean that you should be able to purchase any tool to defend yourself?
Well, any tool that's appropriate for those means, I think yes. I think, and people always go into, oh, well, what about nukes? And there's a public nuisance
just what about
problem.
Grenades?
Yeah, well, what about grenades? So there's a public nuisance problem, right? That when you use a grenade, sometimes, maybe if you live in the middle of Arizona, maybe there's an argument that you could effectively use a grenade in self-defense. I don't know. I'm not too interested in fighting that out. Frankly, if we get to the point that's what we're having to fight on, then I think I'll have succeeded in my career and I'll go write spy novels on the beach or something. But right now I'm trying to just keep everyone from tearing simple rifles out of our hands.
So simple rifles, nobody's debating that you do not have the right to bear arms. But with every right, you would agree to this as a trained jurist, every right has a responsibility connected. And because of that responsibility connected, there are regulations to that right. So let me give you an example. I know a lot of people call what I believe in gun control, and I really hate that terminology. You believe in the freedom of speech, right?
Of course.
Okay. And that freedom, which is codified in the US Constitution, tells us that the government cannot infringe on my freedom of speech, religious expression, assembly, etc. But there are restrictions to that freedom. I cannot use that freedom to harm other people, for example. I can be charged with a crime from the government. The government can restrict that behavior. So my freedom of speech has statutory restrictions, but nobody calls the statutory restriction to my freedom of speech control. But when we have statutory restrictions to the use of guns, the terminology is then gun control. But every right has statutory restriction, all of them. What's the issue with that? Why is that a problem?
So does the fact that it's written in statute make it morally right? I mean, I'm sure you remember there was a lot of very bad stuff in this country that was considered to be good law for a very long time. And I'm sure you're extremely well aware that the origin of modern gun control law. I'm interested in the point you make there. I definitely love to talk with you about that more later. But the genesis of this stuff was particularly aimed at people of color and immigrants and stuff like that. It was in my opinion, the very genesis of these laws is void and is completely without the scope of our Constitution. I think that at the very genesis, the types of laws that people want to push now should be void under equal protection, under due process, under a lot of things aside from the Second Amendment. And I think it's very important to have that backdrop. I'm sure you're aware of New York Sullivan law was only ever enforced against Italians. That kind of says something. I live in Florida. The Supreme Court of the state of Florida has recognized that the Reconstruction era gun control laws that were placed in Florida were only ever used to disarm black men.
Yeah, okay. So let me give you some insight to what you're saying, because I intentionally do not participate in certain programs. In my local community, the sheriff knows me, the solicitor knows me, the mayor knows me. They have asked me to participate in what's called gun buyback programs from urban communities that I was raised in. My answer is no. I do not engage in disarming those hoods or those communities that I was raised in. I don't do that because y'all are not disarming. Do you understand what I'm saying? They're not telling you all or others who don't look like the community I came from to disarm. So that's a different debate.
When you say y'all, you mean like the police, or do you mean?
No, I mean individuals who are pro-gun. Individuals who are on the conservative side or conservative leaning in the ideology. Right. The laws that you just talked about, the implementation has always been skewed because of the implicit bias, racism, et cetera, that's inside of our systems. Absolutely. So that's one thing you and I actually agree with, right? You're a conservative guy, or at least conservative leaning.
Am I?
Yeah, you are.
I don't know about that, man.
You don't think you are? All right, so you're conservative.
Yeah, you should read some of my writings.
All right, so you're conservative. Let me say this: you're conservative on this issue, but you and I do completely agree on the issue of unfair execution of legal statutes. We agree on that 100%.
Right, and unfair intent. I think I think that it's beyond execution. And if you look at the brief that was just filed in the Supreme Court the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association case on behalf of the Black Defense Bar, they pointed out that almost all of the gun crime that people talk about, this big spooky gun crime, is simple, peaceable possession of a firearm. And I don't have to tell the audience who's 70% of the people that they prosecute for that simple, peaceable possession. I don't even have to tell you.
Brother, music to my ears. I researched that as well, and what they do is they itemize it as gun violations, so that they can promote the data where black people are the majority in that data, just for having a gun on them.
Right.
No other crime.
And who is it that's the most frequently the victim of violent crime? It's poor and minority Americans. And so I think it's really makes sense from a human rights perspective and from wanting to protect human life to say, hey, we should be making guns as cheap and accessible as possible, so that these people who most need them can get them. Maybe I lost you, but
yes. All right, now you're in the lion's den. Okay,
that's fine.
So this is the part where we completely disagree.
That's okay.
The Biden administration, and I want to provide context for those who are watching. The Biden administration has directed the Department of Justice to propose a rule to stop the creation of what's called ghost guns. Now, these are literally 3D printed guns you can make at home, but there are various ways to make guns, but literally you could just print one and it's a functional gun. You got some behind you, right? Now,
I designed those ones.
The genesis of it is that these guns are untraceable. And the reasoning behind the directive is because of the untraceable aspect of these weapons. 30% in some regions in the country, 30% of guns that are used in crimes are untraceable, not because they're created, but because they have been wiped of the serial numbers, okay? Which creates the same de facto circumstance if you're able to create these guns as well. Do you not find it potentially problematic, given the fact that in many regions up to 30% of violent crimes that are committed with guns are committed with guns that are non-traceable? Do you not find it problematic when you invite in a way to create, to make, to print non-traceable guns. You don't think criminals will take significant advantage of that, and it does not warrant a common sense statutory restriction?
I mean, I wish you would have just asked the question instead of adding more, asterisks to it. But I mean, no, I don't think it's a real problem. And I think you actually hit on it. And I don't think that you have any bad intentions or that you're, trying to be a gun grabber. I think it's awesome that you don't take part in those attempts to disarm Black communities. I think it's really principled that you take those stances. However, I just want to point out that this whole traceability thing is a bunch of garbage. It's really a CSI misunderstanding, an intentional misleading of how these things work. In fact, every single gun that was made before 1968 is de facto untraceable the way they're talking about it, because the standardizations for serialization weren't set down until the Gun Control Act, right? Which again had very bad, very negative intentions. The vast majority of guns that are out there, after they trade hands privately 2 or 3 times, become as untraceable, and I'm using scare quotes here because I think it's a nonsense term, as any other gun, as a printed gun, as a gun you mill out of an 80, whatever. There is not a principled distinction between a 3D printed gun and a gun that came out of the factory and just has been on the market for 15 or more years. There is just no practical difference, and that's because when these guns trade hands, guess what? The tracing system that they want you to believe, they want you to believe that there's these psychics that can tell exactly where a gun is and what the gun's criminal intent is. That can only trace where the gun has been with a federally licensed dealer. And if you want to then say, okay, well, let's shoehorn everything into these federally licensed dealers, right? Because that's where people go with the universal background checks. Well, then you're in a situation exactly like it was with Florida in the post-war period, where suddenly, again, who's the people running the gun shops? Do you really want them to be the one and only gatekeeper of the right to protect your own life? Or do you want it to be so that those people who are disadvantaged and who are at real risk of unlawful violence to be able to stay alive and to protect themselves? And I mean, we might disagree on how we get there, but I think we agree on the core principle. My answer is, hell, get those people as many cheap printable gun parts kits as possible and let them be protected.
Okay, let me read something to you about the tracing process. Firearms tracing begins when a law enforcement agency discovers a firearm at a crime scene and wants to learn where it came from. The NTC receives the trace request and uses the gun's serial number to identify its original manufacturer and or importer. From their records, NTC is able to track the firearm through the wholesale and resale distribution chain to its first retail purchaser. So literally, law enforcement is able to trace the firearm with one piece of dynamic information.
But you just said it there yourself. The first retail purchaser. And the data they have, right? So pre-68.
Well, brother, pre-1968. Wait a minute.
It's gone. You can't trace it.
Okay, listen to me, brother.
I got you, brother.
The information that I just read to you, you can find it real clear. It's ATF.gov. Do you know how many weapons? You're a guns guy.
Well, I have a gun shop, so I've responded to ATF traces. I know how this works.
I got you,
the
brother.
records.
Well,
and once
if you know how it works, listen to me, brother. If you know how it works, you know good and damn well they can trace it based on serial numbers.
No, they can't. They can trace it to the first retail purchaser.
Let me read this again.
To the first retail, no, you said it, the first retail purchaser. So what about after that? What about any gun that was sold? So the majority of Glock Gen 3s, right? They were sold more than 5 years ago,
because
right?
I don't think you heard me.
I did.
Okay, well, allow me to read it again and hopefully catch up on what it actually says. The NTC is able to track the firearm through wholesale, resale distribution chain, all the way to its first retail purchaser.
What are you talking about? So, and where that first retail purchaser is, so let me explain. The manufacturer, which we're a federally licensed manufacturer, puts the gun in the bound book, okay? Then when we sell the gun to a distributor, we log the gun out to the distributor. The distributor logs it into the bound book. The distributor sells it to a local dealer, logs it out, local dealer logs it in. Local dealer sells it to the dude, logs it out to the dude. Dude no longer has any record keeping requirements and it would be impossible for them to do such. So dude sells gun. Dude maybe dies, gun disappears, anything happens. Like I'm saying, anything that's more than a year old.
I understand the nuance you're arguing. Okay, let me make it clear. The nuance that you're arguing is that yes, you can actually trace a gun back to the person that purchased the weapon, but if they decide to sell it privately on the private market, there's no tracing ability required. Now, here's the issue. Here's the problem with your analysis, brother. 42% of gun sales in the United States happen without the need for somebody to present an ID or to provide that kind of information, okay?
Right.
Okay, I disagree with that rule, but I get it, that is a rule. So you're right on one very small part that a private gun seller can sell to somebody without the requirement of saying who they sold to. Here's why it's still important to know who got the gun in the first damn place. If somebody bought the gun from you and they decided to sell it to their neighbor goes out and commits a crime with the gun, well, they come back to you. You say, this is the person I sold it to. Law enforcement goes to that person and they say, hey, I no longer own that gun. My neighbor owns that gun. That person committed the murder. Now you have traced the gun based on one thing, the fact that it has a freaking serial number.
Well, what about any gun that was made more than 5 years ago? What about the vast and sweeping majority of guns that have been out there forever? Even when they go back into commercial distribution.
So you're arguing the whataboutism of previously created guns.
No, what about the hundreds of millions of guns that exist?
Just listen to me, brother. To make your point that it's a bad thing to be able to have serial numbers for guns. Is that what you're saying?
Well, actually, no, I'm saying they're still traceable and they're still traceable the same way that we trace the other guns because of the way we log them into our A&D books. You log a gun without a serial number.
That's because you, sir, you are a responsible gun seller. Okay, I can say that. I'm okay with saying that.
No, the federal law says I have to do it.
Right, because you're responsible to do it. Right? A federal law says you got to do it, you're gonna do it.
I already have to log all these guns in, so I don't understand what it is you're advocating for.
Brother, this is what I'm bringing to your table, brother. If you can print damn guns, print them, right? Without any restriction from the government, that is adversarial to what you do. That's different than what you do.
No, it's not.
There's a reporting mechanism for you.
But
there's a logging mechanism for you.
Gatekeeper that is put here to increase costs. If the person can make their gun on their own, and again, it's illegal for them to do it for criminal purposes, it's illegal for them to do it for the purpose of resale. It's not gonna be any more illegal to make a gun for criminal purposes if you change the law. It doesn't change anything. The only thing that it would do is increase costs, and I think that's just gonna hurt poor Americans.
Yeah, brother, I completely disagree. That the only thing it does is increase costs. I think it actually increases carnage.
But do you agree it doesn't? Do you agree it increases costs?
When it may, I don't know. I haven't researched that, but I do know having people with the ability to print guns will increase carnage and also increase the chances that you can't find out who the hell committed the murder.
I print guns all the time, and they're very polite.
Yeah, once again, man.
Look at them.
You're federally regulated. You can't compare yourself to somebody on the street who decides to act in a criminal way.
All my friends do it. All their guns are polite and handsome.
Are they acting in a criminal way against the federal guideline?
No.
All right, so the federal guideline.
So why should we punish them? Should we punish me and my friends?
Wait a minute, you can't commit murder either. That's not because you do commit murder. That's because there's a law saying you should not commit murder. So here's the thing: if you're acting lawfully, you shouldn't care that there are additional restrictions for those who do not.
So if you're acting lawfully, should you be able to print a gun?
If you register that gun and it's allowable to do so, that's fine.
But there's no federal gun registry for regular semi-automatic firearms.
Damn it, it should be.
Why?
It should be.
So that the government can track down everybody and go into those neighborhoods of people they don't like and disarm them? That sounds like not very cool.
Yeah, I definitely get your point on that, brother.
I mean, we've seen it happen. I understand you. I think you're a good guy, but I think it'll happen. I do.
And you can live in that fear-monger place. That's fine.
I'm not scared.
I completely disagree with the assessment or the observation that is what happens. I think it's common sense. If you have, especially if you're one of these guys that have 6,000 weapons, 150,000 rounds of ammunition, like I just reported about 2 weeks ago, you need to be tracked. You need to be under surveillance. Somebody needs to be watching you. There needs to be a rule, a law, a statute to regulate that kind of behavior. Brother, I do have to go, man. I'm already flat over my time, but we'll bring you back and we'll debate after Joe Biden makes this new law, makes this new directive, we'll debate that, okay?
I'll sue him.
That was the best comeback at the end of a bullpen, man. I'll let you have that one. And he'll be sued by a whole lot of people when it happens.
Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you being on the show. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, just remember, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and take care of the planet. And remember, the truth is always indisputable.